Brother Sutton, gentlemen moderators, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege on my part to again appear before you tonight affirming the proposition that it's in harmony with the Scriptures for churches of Christ to build and maintain benevolent organizations such as Boles Orphans Home and Childhaven and Homes for the Aged. First of all, I'd like to answer his questions. Number one, benevolent societies equals the home. Number two, the church can give to what the individual can give to. Number three, widows to be helped are those who are in need. James 1:27 says, visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction. In their affliction governs both. Question number four, both. Question number five, all questions have been answered. Now I'd like to look at the questions that we ask him. Is the church obligated to provide a home for widows indeed? And he said it depends. I asked question number 7, do you believe a woman must wear a covering on her head in worship services? He said, you've got to be kidding. But 1 Corinthians 11 uses the pronoun you from the Greek humos, which is plural number. He can understand a plural number applies to the church in 1 Corinthians 11, but he has trouble in Galatians 6:10, which says, as we therefore have opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially to those of the household of faith. And number 8, would you endorse an orphan home that has elders of the church as the board of directors? And he said, apart from the church, no. And number 9, may a natural home that is destroyed be restored in a legal home. He said it's not a substitute. But that's what we're arguing for tonight, that the church may contribute to orphan homes. We're not saying that's the only way that you can take care of orphans, because it's not. You may take care of them in a foster home. Individuals may take them in their natural home, or they may be put in a legal home, an orphan home. There are various ways that children may be taken care of. We're not saying do one to the exclusion of all the others. We are saying that orphan homes, that's one of the ways that's scriptural and right that orphans can be taken care of. And then we ask him to 2 Corinthians 9:13 include more than saints, and to that he said no, because he does believe in saints-only benevolence. I'd like now to look at some of the things that he said in his speech. First of all, he had a chart on what is the issue. The issue that we're dealing with in this discussion is that the churches do have a right to build and maintain benevolent organizations such as orphan homes. James 1:27, I believe, applies to the church, which means the church is to visit the fatherless and widows. There are many ways that children may be taken care of, but one of the ways that they may be taken care of is that they may be taken care of in an orphan home. Now, as to his statement about relieving the widows in 1 Timothy 5:16, a brief analysis of that passage, once you read that passage and think about it, it'll be very helpful to you in understanding this matter. It says, if a man or woman that believeth have widows, let them relieve them, that the church be not charged. So if a man or woman has widows, they would relieve the widow. They would take care of her. And the church would not be charged in such a case. It might be the situation, however, that they would not, in which case the church would need to provide for her. What would they provide? They would provide that which the man or woman would have provided. What would the man or woman have provided? It would have been a home. What would the church provide? A home. And the church is obligated to help those who are widows indeed. Brother Sutton discussed Merideth's home. And if we could have that chart on the screen, please. And he also discussed Merideth's church. We'll look at that after that one. I'd like to say this about the church, that apostrophe S, I don't have a church. So we'll make a correction on that matter. And as far as the church goes, the church is that which belongs to the Lord. Jesus purchased his church. And that's the only church that any of us ought to seek to be members of. Now he said this is Merideth's home. Parents do not live with the children. What he's describing here, of course, is an orphan home. Children do not know who the parents are. Listen, if you're an orphan child, you don't have anybody to take care of you. If you're an orphan child, who are you going to have? Well, naturally, your parents are not going to be there. Your mother and dad may be dead. They may have deserted you. They may be gone. If you have an orphan child, you don't have anyone to take care of you. And you need someone to take care of you. And the orphan home is standing in place of your parents and is taking care of you. And that's what an orphan home does. It takes care of people that are in need, that do not have anyone to take care of them. He says the children may never see their parents. Well, he's trying to make fun of the orphan homes, but my friends, the orphan home is that which is taking care of them. An orphan child in an orphan home is in a place where the child can be taken care of, where the needs of that child is taken care of. He says the parents do not administer the discipline, the spanking. The orphan home takes care of all the needs of that child if it functions properly. And you know, many times in legal homes, there are others who take care of various things. In Galatians 4, 1 and 2, Paul says that even in a natural home, that a natural father may have a child under tutors and governors or guardians until the time set by the father. Even in a natural home, the father may not be the one administering the spanking. It may be a tutor or guardian, as such is set out in Galatians 4, 1 and 2. But a child that has the care in an orphan home, he has the basic needs for his life, and they are taken care of. And an orphan home is a scriptural organization. Let's look at his next chart, Merideth's church. If you have an orphan child, one of the first things you're going to need to do is contact the authorities. You're going to need to contact the Department of Human Services or the law enforcement officers or someone. That's the first thing you're going to do. Listen, you just can't go out here and grab up a child. You can't even get one that's abandoned on your doorstep and just say, I'm just going to take this one in. You can't do that. You're going to have to meet the law of the land. You're going to need to contact the police, Department of Human Services. You're going to have to contact somebody. Now, you can help take care of it once you contact proper authorities. You can assist. And there are various ways that a child may be taken care of. It may be that it can be arranged through the proper authorities that that child can be adopted in some family, which is fine. It might be that that child will be placed in a foster home. That's fine. It may be that the arrangements can be made that that child can be placed in an orphan home. There are different orphan homes that have different regulations, and they have different rules by which they operate. And they have different requirements that they have to meet. They have to meet their legal requirements. But that's one way that the child could be taken care of. And my friends, orphan homes are doing a good work. They are taking care of a lot of young people that otherwise would not have the great blessings and benefits that they enjoy. I know they don't have their mother and their father there. I know that. They know that. Everybody knows that. But the next best thing that they can have is a home, a place where they can be taken care of. And I am glad to be before you tonight to speak in behalf of an orphan home. I don't mind being known as a man that's fought many things, but I'll tell you about the last thing that I'd want to be known as a man that fought orphan homes or widows' homes. I don't mind being known as a man that has been against the ERA and homosexuals and a lot of things. But one of the last things that I'd want to be known for is a man who was fighting against orphan homes and widows' homes. Now he talks about the assets of these orphan homes. Friends, it takes a lot of money to conduct an orphan home. It takes a lot of money to conduct your natural home. And when you're talking about the care of a lot of children, and many times they make arrangements so they can adopt children out, you have to take care of a lot of arrangements. This is not where some person in it is getting rich himself. This is for a home, so that the home can take care of the things that they are trying to take care of. Let's have my chart now, number 51, and let's come back to Brother Sutton's home.
10 minutes.
Brother Sutton has made several admissions for us already in this discussion. He has already said that the church may provide a place. That's where you can build and maintain one. He's gotten this far with me, and I appreciate that. He said that it can provide the necessities, the food, shelter, clothing, the medical expense, the recreation. Notice the church may provide that. Where is it going to provide that? How is the church going to provide these things? Where would these things be taken care of? They wouldn't be in a Sunday school room somewhere. They wouldn't be up in the attic somewhere. They wouldn't be down in the basement somewhere. They wouldn't be in an elders' meeting somewhere. They wouldn't be in the elders' deacons' meeting somewhere. Where would these things be taken care of? These things would be taken care of in a home. And the church could provide so that that home could continue. And it can provide the personnel. And if you get, in most places, if you get over 7, if you get in 7 of them, you're going to have to meet the law of the land. Department of Human Services says in most of our states that when you get up to about 7, you're going to have to meet some legal requirements. And when you start meeting the legal requirements, here's what you're going to find. You're going to have to be classified as a child care institution, which means you're going to have to be licensed, which means you must be chartered, which means you also are going to have to be incorporated. A corporation is that which is recognized by the law. It's a legal entity. It makes possible for continued existence and protection by the law. If you had 7 of them there, you would be required to meet the law of the land. And you would have to incorporate. And there's nothing wrong with incorporation. Why churches incorporate? A lot of churches are incorporated. There's nothing wrong with being incorporated. That limits your liability, for one thing. If somebody sues a church and it's incorporated, they can get only the amount that is in the corporation. But if the church is not incorporated and they sue you and they win a case, they can get everything everybody's got that they want. What a corporation does is limit your liability. If a church wants to incorporate, fine. If it doesn't want to incorporate, that's fine. Listen, if you have 2 churches, both of them are incorporated. One church sends to another church. We can understand that that is not something that they're sending to an incorporation over there that's then over the church, and that makes it wrong. If one incorporated church sends to another incorporated church, we understand it's a church sending to a church. We don't worry about that at all. That's no problem. And when a church sends to an orphan home, somebody says, oh, they got a board over there. That board and the personnel and the people who are in it, all of that makes up that home. And you're sending to a home. Just like when you send to a natural home, when you send to the mama and papa, you're sending to that home. The children that may be in it, whoever is there that is in need. Now in this home, he does have something that's different. He's got 4 saints orphans. That's where we differ. That's where we differ. If he gets up to about 7 in this one, he's going to find out he's going to have to meet the law of the land. He's either going to have to dissolve that thing and quit if he starts getting several, or he's going to have an orphan home on his hands that's licensed and has a board and has all the legal requirements of an orphan home. But now he's got this poor saints orphan business down here. Now these brethren have just now come to this position only in recent years. I don't think when they started out they intended to get to this position. But whether they did or whether they didn't, that's the position that they're in tonight. And when we talk about sending to an orphan home, and that's what you've got, and you get several of them in it, and you're going to have to get you a license and a board of directors. Well, someone says, let it be the elders. Well, they can be the elders, but the Department of Human Services says that the elders are over the church. Those same elders may be directors, but when they are over that home, they are acting as directors over that home. And that's what they'd be. If you sent to that home and you sent to the elders who were the directors, you'd be sending to their home. It'd be a home. And he talks about, Brother Merideth talking about a home a lot. And he kind of like hum in on this word home. Now, home is a real good word. Some of the best memories that any of us could have would be that of a home. And some of the best memories that people who have grown up in orphan homes have had was they had the good memories of that home. That was all the home they ever had. I talked to a lady some time back who grew up in an orphan home. She said she was grateful that she had a roof over her head and that she had some food to eat. She had nothing else. She was grateful for the home that she had. That's what I'm arguing for tonight, friends. Now, in reference to Brother Brent Noel, I want you to remember what Brother Brent Noel said. He said the church can provide a home. He said the church can provide a home. That's on page 52. He said the church cannot function as a home. Page 28. He said anybody with sense enough to read knows that the church cannot function as a home. And I agree with Brother Brent Noel on that. He said the Tipton Home organization is endorsed. He referred to the assets of Tipton Home. Here's a man that endorsed the organization of the Tipton Home on page 52. He said, and this is a quote, I explain to you good people how I endorse the organization of Tipton Home. I believe that Tipton Home is right in that it's under an eldership. I defend the organization. There's nothing wrong with the organization of it. The organization of it is fine. Really, where he had questions about it was how it got its money. He said it got it from various churches. They were cooperating. He didn't like that part of it. But as far as the organization goes, he said, I defend the organization. And he said the church can provide a home for widows and orphans. On page 51 and 52, he said if they need a home, the church can provide a home. He said, I defend the organization. Yes, I do. I believe the church can provide a home. That's what we're saying, friends. A church can provide a home. It should meet the legal requirements, and it should not be limited to just those who are poor saints. It should be for others as well. Let me have my chart number 1 again. Here are the basic arguments that we have set before you in this discussion. Number 1, the needs of orphan children must be adequately met. James 1:27. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows. That word fatherless there is from the Greek word orphanos, which means an orphan. Now that verse doesn't say a poor saint orphan. That verse says an orphan. Orphanos means a child that's bereft, that is without parental care. That child needs to be helped. So he says to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction. That applies both to the individual and the church. Let me again set before you James chapter 1. Notice in James chapter 1 we ask, can an individual and can a church pray for wisdom? He said the church could pray for wisdom. Well, what other passage would you use other than James 1, 4, and 5? If anyone lack wisdom, let him ask of God. Notice, if any one of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God.
1 minute.
So here we're talking about an individual statement, but he's admitted that the church could pray for wisdom. James 1:27 has individual pronouns, but it may be applied to the church as well. The statement that we made is a principle that holds up, and that principle is this. It says that all scriptures that relate to peculiar religious matters are passages which apply with equal force both to the church and to the individual Christian. James 1:27 is such a passage, and it applies to both. And that's seen also in 1 Timothy 5:16. Because the church can help widows, but widows is a part of pure religion. The church can practice pure religion by helping and taking care both of orphans and widows. And the church ought to practice that religion. You know, churches and preachers have discussions about a lot of things, They talk about many times what they're going to do. They wind up many times doing nothing. Less help. Thank you.